Susan, thank you so much for joining us here at Base Sunday. We really appreciate you being here.
It's great to be here.
For starters, can you just tell us a little bit about the San Francisco Human Rights Commission?
Sure. Well, we just this month are celebrating our 50th anniversary, and it was begun in 1964. Mayor Shelley created the organization.
Are we the oldest?
You know, I don't know that we're the oldest, but it's certainly, I would imagine that a lot of the human rights organizations are about this age because of the civil rights movement. The reason that these organizations were started primarily, particularly and specifically in San Francisco, the civil rights movement, and to address discrimination against African Americans and the needs of African Americans and the demands for equality, formal equality, basically. So.
And how many are there of you on the Human Rights Commission here in San Francisco?
Well, we're all mayoral appointees, and the mayor can appoint up to 11 people. Currently, we have 7 commissioners.
Excellent. How often do you meet?
We meet twice a month, the second and fourth Thursday of every month.
I imagine you have committees that maybe meet more frequently, or is it just twice a month?
Well, the full commission meets twice a month, but we do have advisory committees, citizen advisory committees that meet more often than that.
And what are you guys working on?
We're working on a lot of things, Melissa. So we have an LGBT advisory committee, and they work on issues that are of primary concern to the LGBTQ community in the Bay Area and San Francisco. And we have an equity advisory committee which works on everything else, and so that's incredibly broad. The focus of one of the committees right now, and the focus of one of the focuses of the commission since its inception, has been the needs of the African American community, and specifically African American outmigration, looking for ways to stem the outmigration. I think, as everybody who lives in the Bay Area is aware, we have lost a huge number of African Americans in San Francisco, and it continues each year. We're now at less than 6% of the population, down from, I think, 40% at the height. So it's a huge problem, and the existing community still has a lot of needs, particularly around education and violence prevention. So that is one of the things that the commission is focused on.
And, you know, we here in the Bay Area, we like to think we're really progressive and really sort of probably on the front lines of human rights issues. But I was in Atlanta a few months ago for a class reunion. I'm from Marietta, a little town outside Atlanta. And being in Atlanta, it really was so stark how much more diverse Atlanta is than our sort of liberal, multicultural, diversity-embracing San Francisco. I mean, are we as advanced as we think we are in the terms of human rights?
Well, I think we are extremely advanced when it comes to concepts of formal equality. Everyone should be treated equally. I think we probably have one of the most expansive protections for all sorts of people in San Francisco on practically every basis you can think of. But we are far behind when it comes to creating and maintaining a diverse, economically diverse, culturally and racially diverse city. We've become very segregated, in large part, I think, because of the expense of living in San Francisco.
I was going to say, how much is it economics specifically?
Well, a lot of it is economic right now, especially since we're trying to address the situation. But regrettably, there was an effort, basically, to move a lot of African Americans out of San Francisco. Redevelopment that happened in the 60s, the Fillmore being torn down, a lot of people were displaced. And then the housing that was built has become less and less affordable. And now it's a problem that affects everybody in San Francisco across every line you can think of, but for quite a long time it has been a huge problem for the African American community. Now,
San Francisco, of course, we're a city, and even the Bay Area is just a sort of a collection of counties. What are the limitations of a citywide or regional human rights effort? I mean, is it something that is so big? I mean, how do you go about sort of putting your arms around those issues?
Well, it gets to be difficult sometimes because human rights is global. It's an international concept. But we also have very particular needs in San Francisco. So you go from this huge concept where everything that happens, in the world resonates here with people in their families and personally, but we can't address all of those issues. But we do have all of our local issues from education, equitable education, housing, income gaps, access to the resources in the Bay Area and in the city. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and we have done a lot of things. The Board of Supervisors has passed a number of ordinances over time that protect people's rights, and the Human Rights Commission enforces those ordinances. And so people who are feeling discriminated against on any basis can come to the San Francisco Human Rights Commission and talk to our policy and discrimination people and file a complaint if necessary. We provide mediation services. So, there are things try to answer your question. There are things that we can address and things that we cannot address because they are kind of circumscribed by national and state controls. But there are very many things that we do and can address in San Francisco.
Well, and if someone wants to learn more or to perhaps file a complaint, where would they go to get more information about the Human Rights Commission?
Well, they can go to the web, www.sf-hrc.org, and we're located at 25 Van Ness, and we do have staff there every day during business hours to help people who are coming in off the street.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. For KPIX 5, I'm Melissa Griffin Caen.